after blowing that lead last weekend?
Yeah, and it was actually a good game to watch last week. Pretty much two parts of the game where they dominated, then Glenorchy come back. So, yeah, look, I think they would have addressed a few things, particularly in the second half, that they won't let happen again. So, yeah, it'll be a tough game.
What did you take out of that match? Where do you think they'll really hurt you if they get a chance?
Well, look, I thought it was just a really good contested game, but look, their midfield, look, their whole team, we've talked about their list. Their list is probably, I think, is the best in the competition. So, you know, they've got winners on every line. So, you know, we're going to have to get our best, if not a little bit above our best for the whole game. So, if we can't do that, then they'll certainly chop us up like they've done in the past.
What's the issue with them then? Because I think all of us have said at times they've got the best list in the comp, but they just haven't been able to put it together in patches this year, but they just haven't been able to in big moments, I suppose, either.
Yeah, I think they've probably recruited so many players. It was going to take them a while to, you know, find that right mix. And when you've got such a deep list, trying to get that right mix with the best players, you know, they've got players in there too that we'd love to get our hands on playing in our seniors. So I think it's just a matter of them getting the right mix and being able to play their best footy. I think their best footy can win the premiership.
Getting them at UTAS, does that help you, not having to play at Windsor?
We certainly don't want to play them at Windsor Park, that's for sure. So I think it's a little bit of a neutral ground for us. We can move the ball really well into space, like they can. So I think it's, it'll come down to a lot of defensive pressure, who can shut the opposition down the best. If you're not on your game, you'll get opened up. Both teams can move the ball really well. So I think UTAS will see some pretty sharp footy play. Even at a night game, I think it's going to still be a real skillful game.
How do you think you guys are travelling at this point of the year now, as opposed to 12 months ago? Are you playing better footy, in better form?
I think so. I think we're a better team this year. I think we've got different players that can do better things more often, and on our day, I think we can challenge the best teams. I think we'll find in the last game we had them on toast, and good teams fight back, and they got it back off us. So I think our best footy is good enough. We just haven't played it long enough for 4 quarters at times.
Would you prefer the more competitive Clarence to prepare you for this contest? Because given how underdone they were, Lonnie might be another class above.
No, I think they're certainly a class above. Clarence were injury riddled, and we knew that before we went into the game. It was really important that we got a good start, so we took that away from them, which we did. But yeah, Launceston will be a lot tougher to match up on. So we had a few hiccups at the start of the game with sickness and that sort of stuff. So it wasn't a bad game for us to have first up. We certainly won't get away with going into the game with guys underdone like we did last week.
What do you make of Sam not playing much this year and not putting himself in the team? Do you think he's part of their best 22?
Sam Monaghan?
Yeah.
Look, he stated the other week that he would only come back if he thought the team needed him. So, look, he hasn't played for a long time. He may play. Well, he's certainly good enough to play in the team. So whether he thinks they need him to win or not, I'm not really sure.
Is there a player that concerns you the most out of that group? I know it's very talented, but is there a couple or one?
Probably Jones is inside mid, playing good footy. He's pretty slick in there. Riley's really good and hard to match up on. I think right through they're really solid. They haven't got any standout superstars, but they're really having right across the board. But probably Riley and Jones are the ones that caused a bit of grief last game.
You made a point like last week to target Jake Cox and Josh. You did a pretty good job on him. Not necessarily back him up, but sort of blanket him out of the game. Is that as good as he is offensively for you? Is that where you see him sometimes at his best?
Josh McGuinness?
Yeah.
No, Josh is really good behind the footy, playing that link player. We've never had anyone to match up on Cox probably as well as Josh has. Josh has played some pretty important roles for us this year, and he's captain of the club, leader of the club, and he goes into tagging roles. He's played up, been on AFL lists. He'll just do what is required. he'll probably play more traditional halfback this week with that, that shutdown role, whereas we can use his offensive drive. But he's been playing some really good footy and doing some good roles for us.
How big a relief is having Tutai available, considering some of their bigger bodies as well?
Yeah, look, he's playing really good footy at the moment. For someone who's not from a football background, he's really important to us. He gives us that presence around the ball. If someone's there to be tackled, he'll tackle him. He can take a good mark, kicks it. He's got some tricks up his sleeve, goes into the ruck, goes into the midfield. So yeah, it was a big relief for us not to have him available.
Personnel-wise, are you forecasting any changes? Did you come out last week? Okay.
Probably Perkins. Perkins fell ill before the game and hasn't recovered. I think he's still in hospital now, so he's turned not good. So yeah, so he's tonsillitis and something's happening with his spleen from last year's finals, which hasn't come right, which is sometimes can flare up at different stages. So yeah, he's pretty crook at the moment, so he definitely won't play.
Well, the man next to you, mate, how important has he been for you this year?
What's that?
The man next to you, how important has he been to you?
Yeah, look, Timmy's been really good. He's got lots of tricks and works hard. He's hard to match up on. His work rate up and down the ground is really slick, and he's a pretty smart footballer. So yeah, look, and Henry, they've both got the same sort of tricks up their sleeve, which has been really important for us. So if they get off the leash, they can do stuff that a lot of the other guys can't do, and they can turn games. And the boys love having around doing some of those things. So probably the pressure from them in the forward line is pretty important for us as well. So they've been really good. Timmy, he's a very experienced footballer, so having him in the team, he's been good for the players as well.
Is that something that you perhaps haven't had? I know you got Thor and the likes that have a bit of X factor, but guys that are genuinely exciting and bring that bit of magic, I guess, to a game. Is that what you haven't had in the past?
Yeah, I think we were solid last year, but we didn't have game breakers. Thor's a game breaker. We didn't have a lot of game breakers, so at any one stage, you can throw Timmy, Henry, Thor, Gilby, Tutai. So we've got a lot of guys that can change the shape of the game, and Timmy's certainly one of those ones that can do that. And it might only be a 5-minute patch that they just change how the game's panning out, and then it puts the opposition on defensive mode. So they've been really good in that regard. We'd love to see them be able to do it over 4 quarters, but we know what we're going to get at some stage. They're going to break the game open, and teams are locking down on them now for longer periods, which takes the offensive run away from the opposition. So if they don't look after them, they score quickly, and normally it's good to see, because it's specky. So that X factor certainly drives the team.
Do you want to see them back next year, those two in particular?
Yeah. We actually just talked about it on the car that they're pretty keen to come back. They've got to get through another season up there now and see their family and enjoy that. And I go up in November, so we'll catch up with them in November and have a chin wag about what next season looks like. But hopefully we'll be able to get them back, because they love being around the club, and we've certainly loved having them down.
You sort of hinted the other week that you'd like to go on next year, and that's all official now. Is it an easy decision and a no-brainer for you when the club came to you?
Yeah, it is. Look, it's always been talked about. Probably has been there for a long time. It's always been talked about whether I'm going on. It's never been a big deal for me to get it locked away at any stage. But it's nice to be able to finish the season off knowing that I'm going to be there next year. There's a lot of things in place for next year already. So I love being around the club. It's a good place to be. You sort of get to that stage where they're like sons to you, the players, and you certainly want to be with them and hopefully get on a journey where it'll be remembered for a long time.
Have a quick chat, Tim. How have you and the boys enjoyed your season at Lauderdale?
Yeah, it was good. Coming down here, getting different experience, but it was just too cold for us. Feeling it, but loving it now. It was good.
Did it take a bit to adjust to that? I mean, it was scorching hot temperatures up there, and now you're training in, 0 degrees, how brutal has it been for you?
Yeah, very brutal. Yeah, just couldn't. I just had to get through it and stuff. But the boys been keeping us warm with warm jumpers and all that. So, but yeah, it was great. Yeah, no, good.
What was the hardest thing, Tim, about, I guess, playing-wise from what you were used to coming down here? Is there anything in particular between the leagues that you played in that was the hardest to adjust to?
Just more contact footy, I reckon, and just more physical and stuff. We're up and down, we just play fast, flowing footy and stuff, so yeah, that's the most different thing, up and down, so yeah.
Did you know much about Tasmania before you came down here?
No, I didn't. Tony just told us, Tony, was texting us to come down here, but we didn't know not much about it, so yeah.
So how did it all come about that you ended up here, and was it a tough decision to come down?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I left my wife and kid back home, and it was really hard coming down, but I just wanted to try something different. So yeah.
What would it been for you guys to go on and win a premiership?
It'll be a good thing to go on with a premiership, but it's going to be hard to get there. So it's a long way. So hopefully just get away this weekend. Yeah.
What did you notice playing the finals last week? Did you notice a difference as opposed to just a regular season game?
Yeah, there's a bit more pressure and stuff, different in the finals. So yeah, it was good to just get a win anyway. So yeah.
What's the biggest spray Windy's given you? Is he gone off at you in the huddle or pointed you out at all?
Nah, he's good call.
It's still coming.
Yeah. Sometime maybe in the final, maybe this weekend. So I look forward to it. No.
Selection headaches for you this week, mate. Have you had a good look at that yet? Do you have a feel of which way you're going to take the team on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've had a really good look at it. You know, talked about a lot of different possibilities and ways we could look to play. A little bit will come down to training tonight. We've still got a couple of guys, you know, just to see that they get through training tonight. So it's still a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, but you know, we'll get Reece Mott back, which is obviously fantastic. And I think in the circumstances, it was such a shame that he would miss a finals game. You know, such a obscure, innocuous act that was clearly unintentional. But they're the things that happen, and we got through. So that was great. And so he comes in fresh, which will be really good for us on a really big ground, you know, against a team with a really good midfield. So that's a bonus. We're pretty hopeful of having Zach Webster in, and again, you know, guy with such experience playing on big grounds and how to defend them, and pretty versatile in the positions he can play. So that's another real bonus for us. And then hopefully Josh Grant. You know, he's one of the ones tonight, but we'll just have to see. But there are some good players coming back in, and we'll wait tonight and try and finalise it and come up with something that'll work well.
There's a hard luck story in there. There's a name like Frenchie, for example, came in a couple of weeks ago and an opportunity opened up. He goes out. Rowbottom steps up last week, and you feel as though there will be one or two hard luck stories amongst it all.
I think in most successful teams there are, aren't there? Because you need to have those players on the fringes who are playing really well. And for the last few weeks we've been saying to some of those young guys around the edge, like, stick at it. You never know what happens, and I think Brodie Rowbottom was a really good example to them. Like, you know, I think a lot of people would have thought, well, you know, the door's shut on Brodie for 2018, but circumstances go his way. He gets an opportunity, and because he kept the foot down in the Mercury Cup and kept playing great footy, and you know, hadn't let perhaps the disappointment of not playing more senior footy get to him, he really just kept rolling out each week and setting the example, both training-wise and in the Mercury Cup team, and so he was ready to go. And we have some other good young guys like Joel Milhouse and Riley Oakley, who just each week are rolling out and playing really good footy in the Mercury Cup, and we want those guys to keep knocking on the door. So if we do have, you know, some circumstances like last week, we bring them in and we've got real confidence that they can do the job. And Will Atkins been another one, you know, who wasn't really close to senior selection for probably 2/3 of the year or more, but he got his opportunity and he's played well, and a couple of his goal-saving acts on the weekend were, you know, game-saving in a way. You know, if those two incidents end up in Launceston goals, who knows what the result might be. You know, we may still have got there, but certainly would have made it much more difficult.
Is Zach the kind of player you would play at under 100%, just given how valuable he could be in those pressure games?
It's a Good question. I mean, you look at last week, the key to the game was our ability to really run that game out and apply pressure for the full game. And I think if you were watching it, you know, the work rate of our guys in that final quarter was exceptional. And I've said to the guys all year, you know, you've got to be fit to be in the team. It's hard to win anything in modern footy if you're not applying pressure, you know, all over the ground, and then working hard once you get the footy to give options. So it really is important. Yeah, at the same time, I mean, Zach, you know, what do you mean by 100% fit? Like, obviously, he has missed some footy in the second half of the year, so in terms of his game fitness, he's not, you know, at his optimum. At the same time, we can get some rotations happening that, you know, allow him to get a bit of extra rest. But his knowledge of, you know, how to defend in a team setting, how to play big grounds is really valuable. So, and also just his speed, his ability to make things happen, all those things with Zach. You know, once we saw he got through a full Mercury Cup game, he played well, he looked really sharp. So those things gave us confidence, and you know, assuming he gets through tonight, then he'll come back in.
You know, the theory of sides coming back a little bit flat after a bye, does that apply to a side as good as North Lonnie?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's lots of examples of that, but we're more worried about ourselves. And the thing we spoke about on Tuesday, and we spoke about it with our Mercury Cup team as well, who had a great win where they ran over the top in the last quarter. But they're playing Launceston, who haven't lost a game all year. And so both teams have got really tough opponents, have got good depth of talent, good team system, all those sorts of things. So what we spoke about was, you know, you think about last week, you've got to forget the feeling of elation, you know, the euphoria, hearing the commentary with Brent and Gilly going nuts and all that sort of stuff. You know, they're great memories to have. But I said to the guys, you've got to forget about that side of it, because if you go into games against teams this good on a high, they're just going to rip you straight back down to earth really quickly. And we said, you've got to remember how hard you worked to achieve it. That's the thing we've got to take into the game, or the 2 games on Saturday. So for us, I won't talk about North Lonnie, whether off the bye, you know, who knows? They might come out really fresh and be feeling great. So we can't control that. What we can control is the mindset we take into the game.
Do they have a chink anywhere in their arm you think you can exploit game style, personnel, anywhere that, no, you might not want to reveal it, but
yeah,
internally, do you feel as though there's something that you can grasp at?
If they did, I'm not going to talk about it here. Look, I've spoken about them a little bit this year, and just about their consistency and their discipline. You know, like we all know, they've got some really good talent, and they've got a lot of good players as well, but the key is that all those players do their job, and they do it pretty consistently. So, you know, when you're on top, they're still defending you pretty hard, and they're still making it really hard for you to score. And when they get on top, if you drop away, they go bang, bang, bang really quickly. So at the same time, I mean, what was great about our game on the weekend was that everybody did their job, you know, and we had to shuffle the deck a little bit. But from midway through that second quarter, the guys settled into what their task was for the rest of the day and did it. And a lot of people have commented on, like, I don't know half the kids who were playing in the team, but that doesn't matter, because they had a job to do, they did the job, and it made it predictable for the rest of their teammates. And that's what North Launceston do really well. That's what all great teams do well. So to beat them, you've got to match that. You've got to do your job, play consistently, execute, make good decisions with the ball, be really desperate with the way you defend when you don't have the ball, so that their moment in the sun only leads to 1 or 2 goals and not 4 or 5. And then, you know, you get into the position where you put them under pressure. And, you know, you get to a last quarter where it's anyone's game. Well, you see, you know, who reacts best, and, you know, does the bounce of the ball go your way? And that was the other really pleasing thing last week, you know, like Jaye goes down, we gave away an undisciplined free kick and a 50-metre penalty when they hadn't scored in 20 minutes of football, and it built some momentum for them, you know, and they kicked a couple of really classy goals, which they can do. And then Tim Auckland picks up the ball and throws it back to the wrong teammate, and the umpire pays a 50-metre penalty against us. You know, and all these sorts of things happen, and you're kind of like, maybe this isn't our day, you know, when these things roll against you. But what was pleasing was we slowly turned the wheel, and on a day where you could have dropped away, and, you know, there's good players out, Jay's gone down, we've got things going against us, you know, a group of mostly young guys just stuck to what they needed to do. So that's pleasing, and that's finals football. So that gives us confidence coming into this week. But we will need to be better again this week. We can't have that 30-minute lapse that we had last week and beat North Launceston.
Would Jaye have a role in the box or anything, mate, this weekend and the rest of the season?
I haven't spoken to him about it yet. Obviously, you know, he had scan Monday, saw the surgeon on Tuesday and was in on Wednesday. We had a brief chat Tuesday night, but I'll have a chat to him and see what he wants to do. You know, some players like still being really involved. Others just want to come and watch and, you know, sit back and hopefully enjoy a good day for the club. So we'll just see what Jaye wants to do.
I know you got them earlier in the year, but obviously they were a bit undermanned that day. Do you need to beat them at full strength to validate anything, whether your own chances, outside, inside? Yeah, is there any?
Oh, we need to beat them at full strength this week to make the grand final. That's what we're thinking about. And, you know, our season to date is what it is. You know, other people can comment on, you know, where we sit, but obviously to get to this situation, we've done reasonably well. Put ourselves in a position where if we have a really good game Saturday, we're into the grand final, and that's all we're really concerned about. Everyone knows North Launceston's a good team. Everyone knows you've got to play very well to beat them, and you know that's how we're preparing.
What do you think of your cup, mate? First time we've seen it.
It is. I didn't even notice it. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. Look, you know, I'll chat about that cup with you if we win on Saturday, or you know. If we don't, if we win the next week, that's when we'll worry about that. But really, now, you know, we've just got a really tough job to do. We think our guys are capable of doing it. I've said since the start of the season that I like this group. They work hard, they're smart, they've been really adaptable during the season, and I'm sure you know from watching them how much they've improved, just how good they are as an all-around team as the season's gone on. So that's really pleasing as a coach. So we think the opportunity's there. You know, losing Jaye hurts, but there's nothing in our game plan that mentions Jaye Bowden. You know, he plays one role in our system. Now, he plays it exceptionally well on both sides of the ball, and I think he's one of the all-time greats in Tassie footy. You know, obviously there's some of the real greats. You know, you talk about Baldock and these sorts of guys, and I think Jack Revolt will be there once he's finished up playing. But I think, you know, the echelon below that, I think Jaye belongs in that sphere. So he's a hell of a player. I couldn't have been more impressed with him this year. But as I said, someone else will come in, they'll play the role, and if we have 22 players who do the job we need them to do, we'll have a chance to win this week.
Touched on it, your ability to shift things in game and get the guys to different roles. Do you think that's one of your strengths? I know quarter time against Clarence, you're obviously struggling a little bit and you've managed to move around on the weekend. Do you think that's one of your key areas that you might quickly identify what's going wrong and get the guys to respond?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, that's a really important part of coaching. And during the year, we've tried to prepare the guys so that we have different ways we can play our football, so that when we change little things, and it has to be little things. I think if you change big things, everything goes out the window. And I know that from my experience as a player, that sometimes you have a bad quarter of football and your coach throws the magnets around and you sort of, what's going on? Have a little bit of faith in us. That was always my feeling as a player, that you had to make some changes, but you also had to have faith in the guys who'd been delivering and what they could deliver, that they could turn it around themselves. So, the players are prepared. We have different ways we can play, and it's as much on the players as it is on me, that when things go wrong like they did on the weekend, that they could really stick with what we needed them to do and make the adjustments we needed them to make. So I'm not sure what it says about me. And, this is my first year coaching my own team and my own club. Last year was my first year coaching my own team, so it's still very much a learning experience for me. And TSL's a really good comp. It's been great learning for me this year for sure.